How's it going, guys? We're back for another SBT video. Today we're going to be recapping week 1 of SBT in season 4. And how this is going to work is we're going to be talking about certain games that happened in week 1 for each league. We're going to start with the C League and move up to B and then go to A. And then we're going to be getting into the kill leaders and potential matches for week 2. For this week only, we're going to be comparing how the standings look in conjunction with how our power rankings were, and kind of see if there was any kind of difference there, and if there were, we can talk about them. But for now, let's just take a look at the C League division, and we can talk about that. Oh, by the way, I'm not alone. I have a Swampy here with us.
Yo.
We also have Eagle Gene.
Hey.
And we have Gene as well.
I'm Batman.
I'm pretty sure Tyler's there somewhere, right?
Yeah. We barely heard him, but whatever. Yeah, he's kind of there.
Yeah, he's kind of there. Okay. So
Gene's not in the phone.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's go over the C League division, and we can look at the standings compared to how our power rankings were.
Yeah,
so,
like some marquee matchups.
Yeah. So did we get it right, guys? Did we get the power rankings right? Who do we have at number 12 for our power rankings? We had Griffin, and then we had Godzilla, and then Piran for 12, 11, 10. It looks like we had in the standings right now. It looks like it's Stars team, the Cairo Camels, and then the Cleveland Charizards Griffin, and then we had Melbourne Marowaks at number 10. So,
well, I mean, after one game, it's hard to tell still, but
yeah, it's only one game, and obviously, it comes down to what the matchups were as well. So, but if we keep going up, we have a Fire Eyes team, the Philadelphia Braviaries at number 9. Ganon's team, the Cranbourne Crowbats at number 8. We actually have a newcomer. Unfortunately, one of our coaches had to drop Pikachu and his Seattle Sobbles, I think that his team was.
Yeah, Seattle Sobbles.
So luckily we have Wolf kindly joining in and replacing him with his Brampton Ursaring. And he played his match earlier today, and he's sitting at number 7 on the standings right now. Then we have the St. Louis Scissors at number 6, and we have Gryon's team, the Peterborough Palpitoads at number 5. We have Salopgo and his Copenhagen Canines at number 4. We have Jackson's team, Mississippi Metagross at number 3. Ryan's team, the London Lucarios at number 2, and then we have Rousseau's team at number 1, the Oklahoma Heatmore. So we did have Rousseau pretty high up on the power rankings at number 2, and some of these guys actually kind of it kind of looks like that we got our power rankings right compared to the standings here. But we have a couple of games that we want to talk about first. So how about we talk about our first match that we want to kind of bring up, Star versus Rousseau. So the Cairo Camels versus the Oklahoma Heatmore. What do you guys have to say about this match here?
Well, I think on paper, Star had a pretty good matchup, despite Rissu's team is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But and Star was saying this, he wasn't really too concerned because he had Mega Lopunny, and Mega Lopunny is actually a pretty good matchup against Rissu's team on paper.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But during the match, he had momentum and kind of lost it by playing too conservatively.
Yeah.
And really give Rissu a chance to recover and take control of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we're talking about
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like his start was he had a beautiful start. Star had a beautiful start to that game.
Mm-hmm.
He had the momentum up, like he was actually putting pressure. But then somehow, like Swampy said, he just
Kind of lost
like
it
stopped
along the
putting
way.
pressure. And yeah, like I would have liked sometimes to just like if you could have brought the low pony more often
Yeah.
and just
I
click return,
exactly
you know, and just put in some work and put some pressure.
make the predictions, somehow get in the Lopunny. I love the Z Electros that he brought. Sure,
Yes, yes.
it didn't last, but it did its job to the point where it was breaking
Yep.
down Rizzo's team a little bit. And
I agree.
once a lot of things were broken down, all he really needed was a lot of damage on certain things, and then Mega Lopunny came in and started dealing massive damage because I don't think he really had to switch in like after a certain while.
No, and if Uxie would have been like at 50% or something like that, I think Lopunny would just cleaning at that point. So
that's true. I like what he was doing, what Star was doing there, but then out of nowhere, instead of bringing in an offensive threat and kept the pressure on him, he just brought in Gliscor and you know, was prioritizing keeping hazards off the field or keeping rocks up. And at that point, it makes sense. Yeah, you want rocks up for the Cure in Black, but really, just keep applying pressure until you need it, and then find the opportunity to bring Gliscor later on, and then get our procs.
Especially when your opponent has low switch into return, like looks he cannot switch into 2 returns, I think, from Lopunny. So
it could be close,
at least barely.
Yeah.
Barely.
But
so like it would have like just I would have liked to seen him just put the pressure put the pressure on instantly and keep going that way because he had a fantastic start to that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at some point I think his Jirachi got burnt or something like that, and and it looked like he might, you know, he was starting to kind of lose faith at that point, and then it kind of went downhill. But even before that, there could have been times where he could have just kept applying pressure instead of playing passively. I think he definitely was playing well, but you know, the 6-0 there, it really did hurt his morale, I think. But
yeah, and I don't think like it's just like it shows how close the game was because the game was a lot closer than the 6-0.
Yeah, for sure.
But it just came out that way because, but like everything was really worn down. Like Lopunny was almost at the point of cleaning. Really, like it's.
So we talk about we talked about Star there. On the other hand, Rousseau, he did play pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. He took advantage of the fact that Star was kind of playing conservatively, and then he was able to bring in Florges. He was able to get a wish off and then heal the rest of his team that Star had tried really hard to break down. So I think Rousseau did a really good job, just kind of taking advantage of what he needed to. He found the openings that he needed to, and he kind of worked from there. So
I'm looking at the match right now, and Star basically sacked his Tapu Fini to Mega Aggron, which I don't know what that was doing for him, but like I don't understand why he did that.
He had the Scald on Finny, right? Obviously, Scalds can't get burns because of the terrain, but I think he had Scald for a reason. I'm not too sure. I think it was because
it helps if the Fini stays in and then the Fini stays in for
the terrain goes down.
But other than that, you might as well just reserve the extra power. I mean, sometimes it's actually pretty useful. So.
Sometimes the extra power is actually useful, but I mean, who knows? Like this, you know, if you're in with Finny a lot and you know, the terrain goes down, Scald can get burned. So
I mean, I guess you can mons that are not affected by the terrain can also get burned. Let's go.
Was there anything that wasn't affected by
I'm not sure, but I'm just stating this. But yeah.
Probably, yeah. Well, I can pull it up, I think.
But other than that, you might as well answer for sure.
Yeah, there was a... On Rizzo's team, he did have the Mesprit that wasn't affected by terrain, so he could have gotten burnt there. But what's interesting is that I really think Star should have prioritized taking down that Talonflame that Rousseau brought, because Rizzo brought an interesting Talonflame where he had Defog on it, and Defog Talonflame is interesting, but it's not the best Defogger.
Yeah, well, like it has to come in like on the turn that you set up your own rock. Like if your opponent set up the rocks, you switch on the turn your opponents set up the rocks, and you're fine. But
yeah, exactly. But Rizzo was constantly kind of bringing it in on rocks. He was taking 50% coming in, and even then,
the problem is.
Yeah, even then, Star wasn't able to KO it, which
the problem is the Gliscor had nothing to hit the Talonflame.
That too, yeah. It didn't have knockoff. It didn't have Stone Edge. It didn't have Rock Slide.
Or
Toxic even.
Yep.
So
looking at this replay too is he didn't put enough pressure on Rizzo's team to wear down the Mesprit.
Yeah.
Which was also a problem for him late game.
Mm-hmm. Because if you look at it, the Conkeldurr on Rizzo's team, it doesn't have the best matchup versus Star. Like Star had Amoonguss, Star had Gliscor, Star had Finny, Star had Rachi. Like there wasn't a lot of things that Conk could really do, but I think when Rizzo did a good job, obviously breaking down Star's team to the point where Conk actually kind of just won in the late game. But
he really well preserved his Conk for sure.
Yeah, because I think Conk was assault best in that match. I'm not too sure, but it wasn't even the offensive Flame Warp gut set.
Yeah.
So
I guess we can move on. I guess now. I mean, I think we covered the Jitsu.
Yeah.
We would have liked I mean, we liked the beginning of the game for Star, but like we would have liked to see more pressure.
Yeah, so we would have liked to see Star just taking advantage of any openings that he sees and making sure that he has to know when to be offensive and when to be defensive. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so the next match we were looking at was I believe was it FireEye versus Cell? So
we can look at that one. Yeah, we had this one in Grip versus the one to look at as well.
Do you want to talk about this one first? The Philadelphia Braviaries versus the Copenhagen Canines.
Yeah, we can talk about that one. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so in that match, what's it called? Cell brought the Top Coco, Celebi, Xatu, Salazzle, Klefki, and Terrakion. The FireEye brought his Mienshao, Ferrothorn, Megalodios, Gastrodon, Armaldo, and the Alolan Ninetales. So, it looks like in this match, Ferrothorn had a great matchup. We even saw it in the match, and unfortunately, Cell, he did not bring a Magic Bounce Xatu, and it kind of hurt him a little bit because Ferrothorn was able to set up on him,
yeah, I noticed that, and I'm not sure if that was by mistake.
That was clearly a mistake. He obviously it happens where you end up picking the wrong ability or just forgetting to do it.
Or you just forget. It's just
it's just something you need to double check, obviously. But he was saying during the match how Ferrothorn was a big threat for him, and obviously because of Xatu not being Magic Bounce. And if Ferrothorn is a big threat because you didn't bring Magic Bounce on Xatu, then it does become a problem because you need more answers than just a Xatu. Obviously you have the Terrakion and the Salazzle, but I guess he was just worried about the fact that FireEye also had the Latios. So I'm not too sure why he was concerned of the fact that he might lose to the Ferrothorn, but Ferrothorn was putting in work, so
it had a good matchup, to be fair.
And Xatu got the crit on Pharaoh, which definitely mattered.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a bit what we were talking about. Like, for me, that's just the main point for Fire. I think that stands up for that match. Like, if a mon like that even though yes you see them or whatever, even though you can think that he's Xatu, I would have liked to see Fire Eye just preserve his Ferrothorn because it had a great matchup. So it's
for sure.
That was the main point of the game.
It might not.
Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
I think he was playing pretty freely with it.
Mm-hmm. It might not have been his win con, but if it has an amazing matchup, just keep it in the back, kind of preserve it a little bit, bring it out when you need it to. Not just freely, recklessly taking damage with it. Like, if you know Xatu has Heat Wave, don't stay in to take the Heat Wave. Like, go into your Gastrodon, or, go into your Latios, or something like that. Ferrothorn, it might not have been the win con, but it was definitely walling a lot of Cell's team. So kind of just use it wisely, and you have a Gastrodon that really synergizes well with it.
So like with the Gastro, you force your opponent to run different powers, and then it could be so.
Of course,
it would have been a lot harder for Cell to deal with that if he kept it in the back.
Yeah.
So a couple things to point out. One is Cell brought, he had what was supposed to be Magic Bounce Xatu, but he also brought Clifty for Decon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, his Z choice was Tapunian Z.
For the top Coco, yeah.
I'm not sure why he went with the Tapunian Z crystal over just like
I mean, I guess you get the 75% on the most, like on the more bulkier things.
I think it was actually for Fire Eye also has Rotom Heat on his squad, so it could.
Oh yeah.
That makes sense.
It could have been for that.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Well, I mean, even the Lati.
Yeah. Even the Lati, but I mean, Dazzling Gleam.
Like, let's say,
still do.
yeah, but I don't know, but let's say it's like at +2 or +3 with Calm Minds. I mean, at least that way, if you have a physical threat that's faster, and you can do like a 30-40%, you can revenge the Lati even if it's a +2.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's not a bad
I guess
option.
there could be that. Yeah. I mean, there's some utility to it.
I would have I mean, I would have liked to see maybe Z Celebi, but I guess he thought Celebi wasn't going to be offensive this match, because like if you looked at the squad that he brought, Tapu Koko, Celebi, Xatu, Salazzle, Klefki, and Terrakion, he already had he had Klefki and maybe Xatu as his defensive Pokemon, and I don't know if Klefki and Xatu together were the most defensive, but Celebi, I think he made it defensive as well, and Fire Eye really only had U-turn potential on Mienshao. So I guess Celebi would have been nice to be a nice wall against Fire Eye's team that he brought. I'm not sure why Fire Eye actually brought the...
Yeah, because it could deal with the Gastro and HP Fire with Faro, so I guess it can deal with that. I mean, it has a tough time against Blissey, I guess, but... I guess you can still run a physical attack with that 100 base attack. I mean, you can run mix, I guess.
Yeah, I think Celebi gets... I might be wrong, but does Celebi get Swords Dance, or is that just Shaman?
Yeah, I believe it does.
Pretty sure it does.
It does?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah,
don't quote me on that.
It does. Because I remember I was looking at running that once.
Okay.
Like,
in any case,
but I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we have to try to. If we want to get a lot of games, we'll have to.
Yeah, we'll have to keep it rolling. I think
rolling,
just to sum it up, Fire Eye brought more of a defensive team, and Cell brought an offensive team, and when one has more advantage over the other, it kind of tips in their favor. So it could have gone either way, but I think Cell had it in the end with this top Coco. So let's move on to the Ganon versus Gryon game. It was the Cranborn Crobats versus the Peterborough Palpitoads.
This was an interesting match. We had Ganon ranked number 1 in our PRs before the season started.
And I think we had Gryon's team ranked at number 7.
7? Yeah.
So, and of course, Gryon won that match, and I think he knew exactly what he was doing in that match. It was a it was a very it wasn't a one-sided match for sure, but he called the right plays and he made the aggressive moves and he didn't make risks that he didn't need to make. Like he had a choice band of Victini, and every single time it came in, he always just clicked Victory. It didn't matter if Ganon was going to go into his Suicune or Garchomp. Yeah, he was always just going to click Victory because I think what Ground was trying to do was just break down walls and scout out a little bit with Victini. He didn't care too much about it taking damage. It was just there as a wall breaker for Superior to clean up late game. So I think he knew exactly what he was doing in that match, and you know, it didn't. Even though it came down with 3-0, I think he needed it to come down that way so that he can win in the late game.
Well, I enjoyed that game. It was a pretty good game, though.
It was a pretty good game. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Ganon brought the Silvally Dark, and I think it was probably for it might have been for well, I mean, I guess Ground had 3 psychic types, right? So that's probably what it's for. But
Yeah.
He could have easily have brought in something like Silvally Fire, I guess. I don't know, because
it would have been a better switch into Victory for sure.
Yeah, because
I would have dealt with Celesteela and Serve. Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, how did Ganon beat the Celesteela without the Jolteon? If Jolteon went down, it looked like Celesteela was kind of walling a lot of the team. But I guess Mawile could have had Thunder Punch and stuff like that. So.
Yep. But still. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was still a good match. You guys want to?
I like the only thing I want to point out. I like the only thing I can remember for that match is, I believe, if memory served, the Victini was in against the Suicune and he clicked Fusion Bolt, and then Ganon predicted that and went to his Bolt. So Jolteon was kind of neat. If he if he predicted wrong there and
yeah, for sure,
got a Victory in the face, it would have died. But
yeah, but again,
I like the. I was hoping for the Jolteon switch when I was watching the game. I was like, please go to the Jolteon. Yeah. Pretty nice.
Again though, Ground, he was just kind of just making the obvious plays. It didn't look like he needed to make any risks really. So, because
I just got to that part of the match. He bolt striked the
Suicune,
Silvally, right? and then Ganon switched in the Jolteon, and
yeah, because he was expecting the Suicune to come in.
Right? Yeah.
So Ganon definitely made some power plays in that match. So that's good. Okay, so with that, we can actually just move on to the B League now, right? And B League had a lot of potential games that we could talk about in this time around, but I'm gonna just have the power rankings up next to the standings, and you guys can take a look at it there. What we have right now in front of us is the B League standings and how they are. We have the Atlanta Firehawks and JDMI's team at number 12. We have Ace's team and the Tennessee Volcanians at number 11. We have Rummy's team and the Lehigh Valley Phantoms at number 10. We had the Bakersfield Bearticks and Miles Gustavo at number 9. Kalamazoo Cricketoons at number 8. That's Chuklon's team. Cleveland Crescelias and Stumbles at number 7. We have Beatergate and his Maryland Mudsdale number 6. And we have Zombie and his Victoria Victinis at number 5. Michigan Manectrics and Cheez-Its at number 4. Las Vegas Ludicolos and Rin at number 3. We have Boston Blissies and Bolus at number 2. And we have Hartford Whalelords at number 1, which is Puckbud's team. Looks like the only team that got a 6-0 this in B League is Puckbud. And he did it against a very formidable opponent. We can actually talk about that match right now if you want. The JDMI versus Puckbud.
JDMI is a very solid player, so it was to me was surprising. But I feel like Puckbud just played that like flawlessly.
For sure. I think he had all the counters and responses that he needed
Yeah,
to.
he had all the answers, like between Incineroar and Swampert, I think.
He had a Scarfed Gardevoir, obviously, for the Mega Lopunny.
Yeah.
He had Defog on Thundurus. He had the Moonblast on Jirachi. You know, Incineroar, I'm pretty sure Incineroar was very specially defensive this match. It was probably Assault Fest as well. Because it only took, I think, maybe like 26% from an Aura Sphere from Mew. His Swampert did get burnt, I believe, somehow. Can't remember how.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact.
Oh, it was from
I remember watching the game, but like I don't.
Yeah, it was from a
really
Fire Punch. It was from a Fire Punch from Zeraora. That's what I remember.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
I would have liked that Zero to have coverage though for the Swampert.
gonna...
It's the only thing I could like.
Yeah, if Zera had
GDMI,
maybe Grass Knot, he could have had Grass Knot.
So I was really expecting to have it, and we saw as well. I think Bug was counting for it at some point.
Yeah.
Like he was counting for the Grass Knot. He switched in Swampert on Zera, and then I think he doubled out.
Okay.
To scout for it, and then you saw that the Zera didn't have anything for it, and then at that point,
I think
Swampert and Incineroar was doing more.
I think GDMI made a couple of questionable moves too. Looking at it right now, he left his Mew in on Beedrill, and
It took like 95%.
Yeah. It did like 96%.
It did a lot of damage. I think JDMI was kind of because it was definitely a fast-paced match, not in the sense that it was a fast game, but it was a fast-paced match because of all the turning, and all the just the momentum that each of them were trying to get on each other. So I think JDMI ended up over-predicting at some points during the match. So.
Yeah. Oh, and that Aura Sphere didn't do 26; it did 17.
It did 17%. So. Very bulky Incineroar.
Max Spadef or something.
Max Spadef Assault Vest, for sure. And it just didn't feel like JDMI was getting the positioning that he wanted to in that match. As much as, it wasn't that it wasn't a close match. I'm pretty sure at the end of the match, Swampert was at, 3%. I think Incineroar was pretty low. And... I don't know, I think Beedrill took some damage and Thundurus was getting lower too, so...
So, let's talk about the Future Sight Jirachi, though.
The Future Sight Jirachi,
because he got the Future Sight off, and I don't know if JDMI forgot about it.
Yeah, he did. He said
he switched into Lopunny, and the Lopunny took that Future Sight hit.
Very unfortunate, because I think... had JDMI kept the Lopunny alive, he would have actually gotten a kill with it next turn. I'm not too sure if that's true, but I think he had the positioning right at that point, and then he just took the Future Sight, and then Lopunny had to drop. So,
I mean, the beauty of Jirachi right there, the versatility is just was shown again in that match.
Future Sight just causes a lot of phasing, I think, because you have to either switch into your Dark type, or you have to switch into something that's especially defensive to take that hit plus the incoming hit. So
and the move says, you actually have to see ahead, how is the turn's gonna move up to see, okay, how am I gonna which one do I want to take this, and how am I gonna get there, and how am I gonna get the favorable matchup in 2 turns to get that one in. There's a lot of thinking going on.
And I think Puck actually, he's a skilled enough player to think a couple moves ahead. I'm pretty sure he knows what he was trying to go for with that Jirachi. Obviously, the Future Sight brings in the Hydreigon, and obviously, he has some answers for that. He has a Beedrill, he has a Scarf Gardevoir. He has Incineroar. He has a lot of things to take. Yeah, he has a lot of things to take advantage of the Hydreigon that JDMI was trying to bring in. So, I don't think it came down to anyone doing poorly in this match. I just think Puck had all the responses, and he had a lot of momentum going in this match. It was pretty much his game. So
I don't know what he was trying to do though. JDMI with the drill pick. on the Swampert.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't Brave Bird, but I guess he just didn't want to take the recoil. So, I guess he just wanted to go for that drill peck play.
Well, I don't know why he didn't just try to set up hazards or something, because I mean he was already burned with the armory.
That's
so the
true.
Drill peck the drill peck wasn't going to be doing anything.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not too sure. Maybe he thought that damage was crucial for some reason, but yeah.
All right, we can move on then.
Yeah. So let's go on to the next match. I think we're going to talk about is Bolus versus Aces. We have Boston Blissies versus the Tennessee Volcanians. And now this match, it could get a little bit hacksy because unfortunately Aces missed a couple moves this match, and it ended up turning around for him, and Bolus got the 5-0 on him. But I actually think Bolus played this match pretty properly. Like I think he knew what he was doing, and yes, Mimikyu should have dropped a couple of times because Aces missed some moves. Like we could talk about what Aces actually brought. He brought Aces brought his Victini, Greninja, Nidoqueen, Rotom Wash, Tangrowth, and Lucario, while Bolus brought his Garchomp, Galvantula, Blissey, Metagross, Mimikyu, and Hitmonchan. And Mimikyu had to dodge a lot of moves in order for him to kind of just win. But
right off the bat, Bolus got his Garchomp burned real early in the game by Will-O-Wisp, but the heal build Blissey really came in clutch for him there.
He was able to play pretty freely with the Garchomp. Like he didn't mind too much that it was going to get burned because Blissey is right there, right? So kind of have to be mindful of that. And another thing too is that yes, Aces brought a fighting type in Lucario. Because you obviously, when there's a Blissey on the opposite side, you kind of need fighting coverage or fighting stab, and Lucario is nice to have. At the same time, Lucario, it's pretty frail, and a lot of things on Bolus's team can actually take it on. Now, not saying that Aces kind of played recklessly with it. He kept it safe, and he actually set it up to +4. But I think he wasn't able to get it in until late game, and at that point he had already lost a couple of his Pokemon, so it was kind of a last-ditch effort, and he could have made it work. The thing is that I'm pretty sure the Garchomp could have taken some hits if he was defensive, so either way...
3 layers of spikes was up, though.
So the spikes were up.
The match later on, so I don't know. I don't know the count.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the calc either. Lucario had the speed.
Yeah. The Zen Headbutt miss on Mimikyu was definitely unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because that basically nuked any chance he had of coming back in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure why he needed to go for Zen Headbutt. I think he had Swords Dance. Did he have Meteor Mash?
Yeah. E-Speed, Meteor Mash, and but
okay.
And he also
they're both the same accuracy.
He also ran Psychium Z on Greninja too, so I'm not sure what.
Because Bolus has a Mega Venusaur, I believe, or does he have a Mega Venusaur?
Oh yeah, he didn't even bring his Mega.
He didn't even bring it. So, so obviously Aces was prepared for that Mega Venusaur with Z Greninja and Zen Headbutt Lucario. But I really think his play there would have been to Meteor Mash and not Zen Headbutt. I think Meteor Mash has higher accuracy, if I'm right.
Maybe they're both the same, but I think they're both 90% accurate. But Meteor Mash I think was better anyway.
Oh no, you're right.
Predicting something, but
they both have the same accuracy. You're right. So
unless he was predicting something else, though, because Meteor Mash would have been better if he
I think
actually hit the Mimikyu, because he could have gotten
he could have got the +1, right?
That could have helped against Garchomp after.
Yeah.
If it didn't kill, but
either way, they're both the same accuracy at 90. So I don't know. If he was gonna miss one, he might have missed the other. But Not to say that Meteor Mash was the better player there. I just think that Meteor Mash kind of covered a lot of things that Zen Headbutt didn't. But
to me though, what I'm gonna praise Aces on something though, which is I believe at that point he saw the 4 move slots on Blissey, and he knew that it didn't have Thunder Wave.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was the perfect. I like how he kind of scouted out the Blissey set, and he knew at that point that his Lucario could set up on it, and when he had the chance, he just did. And that I love that. Like if you want to win games, that's how you do it.
You
like,
have to scout, yeah.
And then when your setup sweeper can come in, your win con can come in and get the job done. I mean, that's where you bring it in. So he actually it was really opportunistic in how he played his Lucario. So I like that
for sure
about that game.
I mean,
if I can praise him on something, is that you have to keep doing that. Like if you see your win con, set it up perfectly, and then when it's done,
it's a great mon to have to bring against a Blissey, right? Because if you're gonna scare away the Blissey, Lucario has a perfect time just setting up if he wants to. You just have to realize that obviously Bolus on your side, that you have a Blissey. People are going to be trying to take advantage of the fact that they might be able to set up a sub or a Swords Dance or something. So
because it's really set up fodder, obviously.
Exactly, yeah. And
Bolus has to has to be careful when he's
and if you see a +4 Lucario, you're going to be in danger no matter what. Even if you have Mach Punch on Hitmonchan, obviously if he had E-Speed, it's not going to be mattering too much. So so yeah, so that's that was that match. Unfortunately, some hacks did come into play in that match, and Bolus ended up winning 5-0, but he still did win, so congrats to Bolus there. Let's move on to the last match on B League Division, and that's Zombie versus Juke, which is the Victoria Victinis versus Kalamazoo Cricketoons. This actually came down pretty close. Both sides had a lot of neat sets that they brought. I believe the set that Juke brought, he brought a Specs Volcarona, which I wouldn't have expected. I would have thought maybe that he'd bring a setup Volcarona. And what's interesting is Zombie brought a pretty... I'm not sure if it was defensive or not, but he brought an Entei. We've seen this pressure
subtoxic,
pressure stall Entei before. I think.
Yeah.
And he actually got 3 kills, so he played it well, and it obviously was able to. Set. It was obviously able to kind of wall that Volcarona in a bit. It did end up dropping to Volcarona, but after it got weakened, of course. And so, yeah, and what's interesting as well is that the amount of... I think Zombie prepped pretty decently for this match. He was able to bring the Ditto, and with all the setup that Juke has, he had the Cresselia Salamence, he had the Cobalion Volcarona, he would have expected some setup coming, so Zombie made a nice bring and he brought the Ditto. And Latias is obviously just a threat in itself to bring, and he brought the Landorus as well. Now, I really think that Juke played this match well, but obviously...
despite the matchup, I mean, that's the thing I like, when we were looking at the matchup beforehand, that's what, that stood out to me. I mean, he had a really tough matchup against the Mega.
He did have a tough matchup for sure.
And the Ditto, so...
I do think
he
that...
did well despite the matchup.
I do think that Juke brought the correct stats. Because he brought a Scarf Salamence, which did check the Latias, because obviously if Latias is going to sit there and Calm Mind, eventually, a Scarf Salamence is going to come in and you're going to get outraged. And
I like that he brought that and the Specs Volcarona, as opposed to just setup, because Zombie has the Ditto.
He has the Ditto, so it was the correct play to bring just boosting items instead of setting up, because Ditto is there to kind of just counteract any of your setup. So, and And Juke also had the hazard removal for his Volcarona, I believe. He brought it in Gligar. Or no, he brought Spin on Kamala, I think. One of the two.
Yeah, Kamala had Spin.
Yeah. So he definitely had the walls too. He had the Cresselia, the Gligar, the Kamala, and then he had the Mence, Cobalion, and Volcarona to kind of just wear down Zombie's team some more. So yeah.
We don't have. It's a game. Yeah, I don't have. I mean, just a match I enjoyed in general.
Yeah, it was a very good match. Yeah. Like, I don't think either of them played poorly in this match as well. So it came down close.
Yep.
So we can move on to the A-League division now. Sorry, guys. And the A-League, we can take a look at it. Obviously, I'm going to have the power rankings brought up next to it for you guys. But we have the standings in A-League division. We have the Amsterdam M-Poms and Witchard at number 12. We have Tyler and his Winnipeg Weavals at number 11. We have the Caraboa Krogunks and Gunk at number 10. We have the Ottawa Gengars and Jean at number 9. We have the Memphis Mawwiles and Mawwiles at number 8. Portland Timbers and Jarl at number 7. Lancaster Landers and Skyquake at number 6. The Blue Collar Blossoms and Simi Chris at number 5. The Durham Dragonaires and Mams at number 4. We have Seattle Swamperts and Swampy at number 3. The Pallet Town Pikachus and Eagle Gene at number 2, and the Seattle Salamances and Hunter at number 1. So, I think each of these matches, they were all pretty good matches, and for the most part, they were each pretty close. So, no one got 6-0'd.
Yeah.
So, I think we have a couple of matches that we want to talk about for A-League. The first one being Simi Chris versus Mawwiles, and
yes, and that beautiful Leafeon set.
That beautiful Leafeon set that was brought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can look over the teams that they brought. Actually, I'm pretty sure Mawwiles brought his Suicune, Crocodile, Zygarde 50, Clefable, Crobat, and Leafeon, while Simi brought his Gligar, Zeraora, Delmise, Megalopony, Melodic, and Victini. So, just right off the bat, it would seem that Zeraora and Megalopony had a very good matchup against Mawwiles, and they did. Eventually, they ended up cleaning up in the end game there. But I didn't expect that Leafeon to put on so much pressure on Simi's team. For the most part, because Zeraora, I'm pretty sure, was banded this match.
Yes, and because outrage at the end.
Yeah, that was banded Zeraora.
Yeah, because it had fake out, and it faked out the Leafeon, and then it had to swap out, and that gave Leafeon the opportunity to go for that Z dig, which was amazing to see, really, and then it just destroyed the Victini coming in. Now, Victini isn't a bad switch into Leafeon, obviously, because Leafeon doesn't really get coverage for it, but I wouldn't have expected Z-Dig at all. So
no, I mean, Leafeon has pretty much just grass and bug coverage. Yes, it has not stuff like that.
Yeah,
it does pretty much doesn't have coverage at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that Z-Dig set,
very nice for sure.
That's what I like about when you stuff that. You always tend to big some easy sets. Always fun.
I mean, I think he's able to make the lower tiers shine.
Yeah.
He does that a lot. So
I do want to point out. I think there was a couple of misplays. One that I was really questioning is when the Leafeon was set up under Sun at +2, and Simi sends in the Milotic.
Yeah, and then it just gets destroyed. And so I'm not too sure what he was expecting there. Maybe he was trying to waste a turn of Sun.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure if Delmise was still alive at that point. But obviously Delmise would have been
it was still alive.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly what that play was supposed to be, but maybe he was expecting Mawwiles to overpredict or something. It's not every day you face off against a Leafeon, so maybe he wasn't sure what it was going to do. But it was definitely a nice match. It came down close. It came down to a 1-0.
Yeah, and then I think the Zero had to be banded as well with outrage to knock out the Zygarde, because Zygarde is very bulky on the physical side.
Very bulky. So yeah, Zero Aura definitely. That wasn't even stab, and it had to be maybe adamant if I had to guess. So
yeah, I think it was adamant ban. Yeah, so it was a great bring there.
I liked the set, the Mega Lopunny set with the substitute Power Punch and Last Resort.
Yeah. It's not something you see every day, but it's definitely nice for breaking down some walls, especially if there's a Clefable on the other side. Clefable, being like max defense, can take virtually any hit from Lopunny, but not a Last Resort. Last Resort is so just strong. A high base power.
Yeah.
So.
I like Sub on Lopunny as well. Like if for the people that drafted Lopunny, like if you expect the if you don't know what your opponent is going to switch into, then you can just sub sometimes and don't risk anything, and then you can just attack what's in front of you afterwards. So.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yeah, I think I like the sub there.
Yeah, Lopunny has a lot of utility it can use. It's not just a one trick. You bring the Wall Breaker set and just expect to get kills with it. You can do that, but in other cases, you can bring the sub Endeavor set or something that, like what Semi brought with the Last Resort. He has a lot of options he can do.
Yep.
So, otherwise, it was a pretty good match. I liked some of the sets that were brought here. But now I guess we can move on to the second one that we want to talk about, which is Jaro versus Sky. And this match, I'm pretty sure, also came down kind of close. It came down to a 1-0.
Close match.
Yeah, so at the end of the match, I think it just came down to who's going to get more kills and who has enough health to live. And I think Jaro came down to his Golurk in the end, and Latios came down. So it came down to the Latios versus the Golurk. But surprisingly enough, Tapu Koko did not get any kills this match. Even though Sky had a Tapu Fini, he had a Tornadus, he had a Latios. So it's interesting that Tapu Koko just didn't get the momentum he needed. Obviously, Nidoqueen is there to kind of just soak up anything that Koko wants to do. Nidoqueen is a
great switch into to Koko for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty much the wall for Tapu Koko. And
yeah, usually you have to run like a Z Brave Bird set to try to break it.
Yeah, for sure. And even then, like if it's Nidoqueen's max defense, it's gonna be eating that hit. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Jaro had a lot of momentum this match with Pangoro, Tapu Koko, like Raichu.
He brought his lower tier threats as well. Like that's what I noticed at first glance when because Sky brought like Latios and Karak,
like an OU team, basically.
Basically an OU team. And then I saw Jaro on the other side with like Pangoro and Girl and Gold, like Raichu. So it was It was like the only OU mon on the Jaro's team was the Koko.
It was the Koko, yeah. And Sky brought his Latios, his Terrakion, Nidoqueen, Tornadus, Fini, and Ferrothorn. And
so it shows like how like the matchup sometimes the lower tier threats can work depending on the matchup.
When you can make the lower tiers kind of face off against the higher tiers, I mean Jaro brought it down to a 1-0, and it was a very good match. So. Sceptile obviously outspeeding all of Sky's team. What was something scarfed on Sky's team? I don't even remember, but Sceptile being there and being the fastest mon for sure would cause Sky some problems. So
it's a match. I think we enjoyed.
Yeah, So that's going to be it, unless you guys want to talk about any of the other two matches for A-League. I think we've been talking for a while, so if you want to...
We're going to jump into kill leaders, I guess. And,
want to jump into the kill leaders?
Yeah.
And we'll finish it off there for week 1. And then after, for week 2 as well, then we're going to have
we can
more of the standings. As long as we go, we're going to have like more games played. like it's gonna be easier to compare with the power rankings and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a little bit easier in the next weeks, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get into the league kill leaders here. At number 1, it's sitting at Mega Septile with 8 kills and 1 death. And Rin and his Las Vegas Ludicolo's actually picked up 5 KOs with Septile, while Jarl picked up 3. So, interestingly enough, Septile, a tier 2 Mega, sitting on top of the kill leaders right now. But being really fast with 145 speed, it's kind of hard to, beat something, especially if you get rid of your opponent's Scarpers. Septile does a lot of work. And I think Rin played it really well against Rummy, and Jaro played it really well against Sky. So,
I mean, it's I always felt like I always kind of looked over Septile most of the time, but then I realized like it's actually a pretty good mod. I believe you used it last season, right?
Yeah, I did. When I picked it up like halfway through the season, and I still think I finished in the top, almost at the top of the kill leaders.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you picked it up that first week. I think it got what, like a 6-0 sweep or something, or like a 5-0.
It was a 5-0.
Yeah, Septile, it's sneakily, it can get some kills if it sets up a swords dance or whatever. It's yeah. So anyways, that's our number 1 in the league kill leaders now. Number 2, we're sitting at Mega Latios, so no surprise there. Mega Latios, Hunter picking up 4 kills with it. Zombie picking up 2. Ryan actually just picked it up, through free agency because it was dropped, but he hasn't been able to get anything with it yet. So it's sitting at 6 kills and 0 deaths right now. Just 2 kills below Mega Septile, but I believe Hunter played it really well in his match versus Witcher. He just kind of conserved it. Latios, it doesn't need too much to get it going because it's so bulky, and the fact that it can just set up, it's really hard to kind of take down. In fact, most people are just saying how it should be banned at this point, but we're still keeping it around. If we have Mega Malwell, we can keep Mega Latios.
Yeah. I mean, it's bulky, it's fast, it has a nice speed tier. It can set up. I mean, it can recover. It can even refresh to heal up its own status. I mean,
it's solid all around.
It can do so much things that
the stored power set.
So much prep
it gets enough coverage. So. The only thing it can't really hit too hard are fairies, and maybe steel types and that. But it still can set up and hit you with the stored power. So
and like even the more passive fairy types, Latias usually can come can set up on it with Calm Mind and recover. So.
Yeah, just Calm Mind on it, and they're trying to hit you with Moonblasts.
Yeah, so it's a really good mod overall. So I'm not too surprised it's number 2.
Yeah, not too surprised at all. If it doesn't become number 1 next week, then I won't be surprised.
Yeah.
But, number 3, no surprise again. Number 3 is Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko is always going to be on the top of the kill leaders. It's just a fast mon, and it always hits hard, and it's always a good revenge killer in the late game. It can even sweep by itself if it sets up Calm Minds. But Cell had 5 kills with him and his Copenhagen Canines, and Stumbles got 1 kill with it. And it ended up dying. Of course, Jaro, he didn't get it going, and it ended up dying. So Tapu Koko was sitting at 6 kills and 2 deaths. So just a little 2 more deaths than what Latios had, but
it will climb up in the kill. Well, it'll stay there.
It'll stay there. I don't think it's going to drop.
It's owned by it's owned all 3 leagues.
Yeah, all 3 leagues have it, so it's going to be sitting there for a while, and I think it's just going to keep climbing. Tapu Koko is always an amazing revenge killer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now,
the best in the format.
Well, we're going to go over the top 10, I believe. Number 4 is the Alolan Muck, which I didn't expect to actually be on here, but Cheese actually, was able to pick up 5 kills with him. So it's sitting at 5-0. Cheese's match, I believe he fought against Miles, and I guess Miles just didn't have an answer for it, so it really just went rampant.
If you can't take it down, it's so bulky. So that's another thing. Like,
yeah,
if you can't take it down, it just gets killed because
it's pretty hard. Like it's pretty.
It
bulky,
just sits there and gets kills.
So
on the special side, it's extremely bulky with like even you can run the assault vest, you can run the curse set as well with the berry, berry. So much if you're not careful,
too.
I mean, you're not gonna. Yeah, it also gets coverage, and it only has one weakness. So I think if you can deal with the ground type on the other side, Muck can just sit there most of the time.
Yeah, you really need to either bring a ground type or just a very strong wall breaker to take down Muck, especially on the physical side. You need to break it down because it's just so bulky on the special side. So number 5 we have Mega Pincer, and I kind of did some work with it. Who else has it? It's Godzilla also has it. That's right. Yeah. He didn't end up getting any kills with it, but hey, I got 4 kills with it, so I'm happy.
Gene, do you want to talk about it?
I think he's muted.
Oh, did he mute it? Okay. Yeah, he muted when Pincer came up. Is that it?
No, he was muted a while ago.
Okay. Well,
I've been muted for a while, just listening.
Okay.
I just like Mega Pincer because I've never used him before, but at the same time, Mega Pincer seems to be a mon that it can always get a kill here and there. Like surprisingly enough, it'll just come in if rocks aren't up, and then it doesn't even really need to set up, and it'll still get a kill. So
you can spam return then.
Yeah, just spam return. If you're bulky enough to take a hit, you can just set up a Swords Dance, and then if your opponent doesn't have any answers to flying hits, it's gonna do a lot of work. So
and surprisingly, it's actually pretty bulky as well on the physical.
It's bulky on the physical side, and if you invest somewhat, you can actually take some hits on the special side. So it just has to watch out for rocks. So.
Yeah, obviously, but other than that, and then nice priority as well too. If you want,
like
you can use it as both as a wall breaker and a cleaner.
Yeah, you can definitely use it as a wall breaker too. Yeah. So the 6th position we have Jirachi, owned by Puckbud, the Hartford Whalelords, owned by Eagle Gene, Palatown Pichus, and obviously by Star and the Cairo Camels. It's sitting at 4 kills and 1 death right now. And yeah, I mean, it's not too surprising. Jirachi, if it's Scarf, if it's set up, it does a lot of work. It gets a lot of coverage. Puckbud even had it as was it Puckbud that had him as a Z-move user this week? I think
well, he had the Future Sight and Moonblast on it, but
yeah, I think it was Z this week. I can't remember what it was though. But
I can remember the Moonblast and the Future Sight.
Yeah, he had the Moonblast and Future Sight. So. And I think you had him Scarfed, right?
Yeah, I had him Scarfed. Yeah, like Puckbud went with a great set. I went with more
standard.
The Scarf, more standard choice Scarf U-turn with the Iron Head and Body Slam, because I'm that kind of guy that fishes for 60%.
Well, of course. But
I
do like your response for a Scarf Embor obviously was a Scarf Jirachi could help as well, because if you have coverage for it. I don't know if you had Zen Headbutt.
No, I didn't though, because I had Fire Punch for the Mega Scissor.
I see. Yeah, maybe Zen Headbutt wasn't the best coverage, but still.
Well, I felt like Embor was definitely a threat to the team, but I didn't see the scenario where it could came up one-on-one with Embor, and actually we both led with it, so it would have been maybe useful there, but
yeah, well, it would have scared out the Embor if he thought that.
But then I would have, but then the Embor was actually taking the hit, so so I would have needed flinch there with Zenith, or Heart Vamp.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Alright.
But yeah, so it got a kill for me, and but Buck really worked.
Yeah, it did some work for Buck as well. Number 7 we have Terrakion. another mon that's not too surprising being on here. It's
Tracheon is just a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dual typing. Nothing really switches into it well, except maybe a ground type. But it has to be a very bulky ground type. Even I guess a water.
Has to be bulky,
Yeah.
Something like a Hippowdon or something. You know?
Yeah.
I guess a water type could, like, if it's a bulky water type, can kind of take it on too, but it has to be like a slow bro.
Yeah, but even then, like, you can set up on both, like, you can rock polish, you can set up an SD, it has with open Z move. I mean, it can handle that.
If nothing wants to take a Z move.
Nothing really wants to take a +2 like close combat
or Stone Edge, yeah. So, but it looks like Sky put in some work with it. He got 3 kills with it. Rummy got 1. So it's sitting at 4 and 2 right now. So pretty high up on the standings right now. But yeah, Terrakion, I think it's gonna stay up on the top 10 maybe, depending. But number 8 we have Porygon Z, and obviously only Eagle has Porygon, and I'm surprised no one else does, because Porygon is such a strong wall breaker. If it's Life Orb, if it's Specs, if Eagle brought it with a Normalium Z and it still did a lot of work. So
it's it's like I absolutely love my Porygon Z. This week, I mean, it has a base 135 special attack, and with adaptability, there's like pretty much nothing that switches.
There's nothing
switches into a tri attack.
Even Steel types are gonna take it.
And yeah, it's even Steel type has a tough time. Like even the Mega Scizor this week was taking over like 30% from it. So
it really does some work, and especially like if you get it in and then set it up right with an agility or a nasty plot, it's hard to really come back from that. Like we were seeing in your match, it was a struggle to kind of take down PZ without taking any damage, and
and the fact that like this week I ran both, so I could like if the faster things was was left on the field, I could agility, and the more bulky things and the more slower things was left like a nasty plot. So and also the coverage is also nice. Like for ghost types, you can run Shadow Ball. It also has like Bolt Beam, so it has coverage for.
It has Ice Beam.
Porygon Z is very powerful.
And that adaptability tri-attack, like nothing really wants to take that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even need to run coverage if you don't need to, but obviously Thunderbolt does more than adaptability tri-attack to like water types, but obviously like the tri-attack is the better coverage option, and if you really wanted to,
it's also nice.
And if you really wanted to, like you ran the Normalium Z, you can just run Hyper Beam and then just nuke something with a Normalium Z Hyper Beam.
Yeah, adaptability, base 135 special attack,
Yeah, there's nothing that really wants to take a Z Hyper Beam from Porygon Z. So that's Porygon Z, and then we have number 9. Surprisingly, again, we have Leafeon.
The Leafeon.
This is the one mon I don't expect to stay on the top 10.
This mon probably might get dropped a little bit, but Mawile has
it. Won't come often. I think it's more
niche. Yeah. He got 3 kills with it. It's sitting at 3 and 1. It's definitely an interesting mon to see up here, but he did well with it, with having that surprise Z dig.
Yeah.
So, and then number 10 we have Zygarde 10%. It's more often that you'll see a Zygarde here somewhere. So you have Gunk who got 3 kills with it, and he just ran it banded. It's easy to just bring banded Zygarde and just spam 1,000 arrows. If their opponent doesn't have a bug type or a grass type, he'll just do a lot of work. So Gryon also has
there's maybe a couple of mons that we maybe expect to get on there in future weeks. Like I'm thinking Zygarde 50, for example. As the weeks goes on, they'll come on that list. I mean, Zera as well.
Zera Aura can eventually come on here.
Another one I expect to see on that list at some point is Mega Mawile.
Oh yeah, for sure. Mega Mawile has to come up, but eventually it did. I remember always the 3 kill leaders last season were Mega Mawile, Top Coco, and Zera Aura. So
yeah, I think Mega Mobile. I think Mega Money probably will be on
Mega
there.
Mob for sure.
Yeah.
They can get on.
One that I expect.
Pure and Black more often than not as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, one that I expect. Just not because I'm using it, but Volcarona. It's all choose all.
That one gets kills.
Especially in tier 2, we have it in tier 2 because it wasn't used in tier 1. So.
Yeah.
Because of usage, we dropped it down to tier 2, and then when you as a tier 2, usually you kind of prefer the tier 1 on the other side, and then your opponent's side of the field.
Yeah, and it's picked all through all 3 leagues.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
So if all 3 leagues have it, then someone's gonna get a kill with it.
It's most likely, yeah. Yeah, that was Volcarona was a good call there for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Mega Sizzler is another potential one.
It can. So sometimes Mega Sizzler ends up being more bulky than it has to be offensive. So
right,
it might end up climbing, but who knows? I think that's it for our kill leaders. If you want, we can go over the potential matches for week 2.
We can do that real quick.
Yeah, and who you guys think?
I guess we'll try to keep it quick. I guess because we've been going now for a while.
We'll just finish up with this right now. So, which matches are you guys anticipating is going to be the games of the week for week 2? Sorry. Like the best matches. You think?
I like the some of the matchups. I'm always interested to see some of the people that lost, like 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. See how they bounce back. Usually, these kind of players, like usually when you get a huge loss, you want to bounce back with a strong win. So this matchup will be interesting to see.
In that regard, I think that the Cairo Camels versus Copenhagen Canines.
I was looking at that just now too. Star versus Cell. I was looking at that as well. So let's see if Star can actually bounce back this coming week. And
C League, I'm watching with the Lucario's picking up Megalarias.
Yeah, and they're facing
Peterborough, Palpito.
Yeah, they're facing Grind.
That should be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Wolf will have his new moves. Well, his new team pretty much against.
Yeah, so Wolf has his new team.
So
we can see what happens from there. What about B League?
Interesting to see UMAMs against Witch. I'm surprised to see.
Me versus Witch.
I can't wait to see how Witch will come back as well.
Let's see how Witch comes back. He has some new members, I believe. A lot of people actually picked up some new mons.
A lot of transactions, so will be fun to see for sure.
Like Swampy, I'm actually pumped to see you versus Sky. That should be a good match.
I have to re-prep, but that's all right.
Yeah. So especially we rank both of you guys as 2 of the top teams. I mean, in terms of
a good clash.
I think all of the A-League matches are actually going to be pretty fire. Like Mawaz is facing Tyler as well, and we got Eagle facing Jaro. That should be a nice match. What about B League though? Do we have any? I like Juke
versus Remy.
Zombie versus Remy. I like Juke versus Puck going into the week 2.
Stumbles versus.
What about JDMI versus Cheese?
That's gonna be a nice
that will be interesting as well. Yeah, see how GDMI back.
Stumbles versus Bullish.
They're all nice. Yeah.
I mean, you could say they're all interesting matchup.
Yeah, they're all gonna be interesting for net. Like this is the beginning of the season, so like each match is still gonna be.
They're all important. Yeah.
I just noticed another match that might be very interesting is the Melbourne Marowaks versus the Philadelphia Braviaries.
That could be nice, yeah.
Zero versus Fire Eye.
Godzilla versus Fire Eye, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna be a fun week.
Yeah. We have to start prepping now.
Pretty much.
Okay, guys. I think that's gonna wrap up our weekly recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any feedback and you want us to kind of organize our weekly recap in another way, you can just let us know. Otherwise, just leave a comment and yeah, guys, that's gonna be it. We'll see you next week.